Hello, everybody. I'm Crystal Kramers. I'm super excited to introduce to you today Roslyn Fung. She is speaking today on Success TV. Welcome, Roslyn.
Hello,
Woohoo!
hello. I'm so excited to be here, love.
I'm so excited to have you. So, you are an Akashic business coach, and I wanted you to just take a moment, introduce yourselves to our listeners here today, and let us know a little bit about what that is. And maybe you can bring us through a little
Mhm.
opening session here before we get started.
I love it. Thank you so much. So, yes, I call myself an Akashic business coach, and I specialize in visibility, client attraction, and soulful selling for life and spiritual coaches, healers, lightworkers, anyone in the transformational world. And what Crystal and I were talking about is I want to define what Akashic records are and
Yeah.
how, and then I want to actually open up the Akashic records so that those of you who are tuning in live and on the replay, you're going to be receiving the codes, the downloads in this powerful, we'll say like interview and talk, because as you're hearing things, certain things are going to resonate, and some things might be like aha moments, and some things might be like, oh, I really need to hear that again, and it's going deeper in, and we'll activate that in our session today.
Love
So
that.
just to define what Akashic records are they are the book of life. So I can open up the records of your soul, and I basically have the ability I call myself a channeler and not a reader because I feel like reader minimizes the potency of my sessions with my clients. And I do both one-on-ones, couples, and groups for Akashic soul sessions is what I call them. And I have the ability, every channeler reader is different, so I have the ability to see what's in store of your soul purpose and the path to get there. It is not a crystal ball because we all have free will, but it's absolutely the possibility that's being shown to me to share with my clients, my audience in that moment. And I also have the ability, to see your past lives. So if you're asking about questions around your blocks, which we actually will explore in the collective today for those live and on the replay. So what happens is those blocks are being shown to me in this lifetime or past lives. So, and I'm going this way because they actually move me a lot. So this is future, this is past, and I have the ability to see what's in the past life that needs to be cleared. And if that's the case, I ask for permission and then we clear it. Now, sometimes I'm being shown past lives because your soul was a powerful archetype.
Mm.
And that archetype wants to be activated now in this lifetime to support you in your soul purpose. So when I'm doing group readings, this is more customized to the personal readings. But when I'm doing group sessions, what we're doing is we're doing the collective energy. And so I also am a former psychologist. I was the first psychologist in my province in 2015 to create an online program, which was a lot of red tape. And I'm a badass and a trailblazer, so I figured it out legally and ethically and created that program. Spirit opened more doors. I wasn't even that spiritual back then. I don't know if that's gonna be one of the interview questions, Crystal, but I'm sure that'll come up. So I was like, but you know that feeling when it's just like, oh my God, something bigger is coming, and like I don't know what it is, but I gotta follow that. I gotta follow it because it's like total self trust, and you're trusting yourself. And so, anyway, I digress. So coming back to here, it was just one of those things where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna follow, and I was not psychic back then. I was not very spiritual, like I said, like not as woo as I am now. But in these Akashic sessions, I'm also a multi-dimensional healer. And so that can come in. I'm certified in trauma, um, somatic processes. So sometimes those blocks are related to subconscious beliefs in
Mm.
our body, are stored in our bodies, and we do shifting in there. And it's really powerful. Now, this is the fun part. Our business also has its own Akashic record. So when clients work with me, my business coaching clients, we open up the records of their business as well because our business has its own entity, and has its own past lives. Now, often, and even for myself, in a past life, my business had its own glass ceiling, which affected me and my business in this lifetime. So when we busted that, there was so much more expansion that happened. That's the power of being in the records, is you can ask about finances and the path for you to create more wealth, more impacts, because that's what we're all here for, and really like more joy in our life. What's going to be that thing, whatever it is, whether it's like business partnerships, which relationships are serving, which are not. We got to cut some cords then.
Mhm.
And when we do clearings, my shamanic practitioner self often comes in, and I speak light language, which is language that only our soul can understand. So it clears, heals, um, and it actually amplifies and activates what is in your highest good and truth. So you'll hear me share some of that beautiful divine lights and sound and tones today.
So beautiful. And when I hear you speaking light language, I get goosebumps and soul bumps. And I can just tell that it's an expression. It's an expression that my heart hears, that my soul hears. So I can definitely resonate. Thank you for sharing that, Raz.
Oh,
That's
thank you, love.
fantastic.
So, shall we open the Akashic
Yes,
records, and
let's
then
do
as
it.
and the purpose of this, as we open the records, is we're hoping that you, my loves, as you're listening, you're tuning in with all your senses, that whatever is meant to be received. And so sometimes that might be feel good, sometimes that might be triggers, right? What I
Mhm.
say might be a trigger for you, be like, oh, shoot. But the medicine is in the triggers, right? If something's triggering you, whether it's like, oh my gosh, he's calling me out, or like whatever negative thing that is, that's beautiful, because that means there's something there for you to, and that's where your breakthrough is. All right, so I'm opening up the records. So I'll just invite us to shift gears a little bit. And you may, if you're sensitive to energy, you might even notice an energy shift, kind of like you're ascending, or you might feel lightness, you might feel maybe a calmness wash over you. And it's okay if you don't feel anything. All right, so just taking a breath in, you're welcome, close your eyes. And then just releasing any busy thoughts, put them on a cloud, let them float away. You can always come back to it later. One more breath in, and a loving, cleansing breath out. Just relaxing your body more and more. God, divine source, and light energy, thank you for allowing us to experience your pure love through the Akash. May all be blessed through the divine of the Akash for the highest good. May divine beings of light help us to receive what is required for our most divine path, and to support the divine path of others. Please help those here, live and on the replay, and who are open and willing to experience the pure love found here. We are now in the records. And so I just want to start by saying, as I'm tuning into the beautiful energy that's here for us right now, there's this beautiful, it's almost like the Northern Lights, where I'm seeing this beautiful green, almost like bluish lights moving across this beautiful dark night sky. And it feels luminous, is the word that's coming through. And I'm also receive information through my body, so I can feel there's this really beautiful gentle flow of divine light coming from my root chakra, and it's like flowing up, and it almost feels like, it looks like the northern lights, and it feels like how you look like northern lights. It just looks really flowy and beautiful, like it's this beautiful flow, and it feels like this beautiful I want to say almost like vortex that we're entering, that we're here in. Yeah, I can really feel the richness of the people here that are meant to watch this show. again, live and or on the replay, that you're really going to receive some beautiful gems. So let yourself feel into this energy. Crystal, feel free to share what you're experiencing too.
I'm just feeling like I actually feel my body wanting to go into almost like the infinity sign.
Yeah, I see that.
I
I
can
love
feel
it.
the movement, and I'm definitely feeling like turquoise and purples. Um,
Mhm.
it's just very soothing to hear your voice too. So it's like, okay, I'm exploring, I'm experiencing, and I'm here in this present moment, listening, observing. Just feels very
Beautiful.
light.
Yes. And it's so interesting. I'm actually moving my body also
Mm-hmm.
in this beautiful affinity sign. It's very, very at much the energies in my root chakra, which is the energy center at the base. It's an yoni, base of our spine. It would look at it that way too.
There
It's
we
all
are
about
again, bringing in
safety.
Naomi.
That's right. Pussy power. But this is really also about
Mm.
safety and grounding, and stabilization is the messages that I'm getting through right now. So the way I
Yes,
channel is I actually see visions and images. I sometimes they show me Disney reference cartoons. It's really fun. And then I'm claircognizant, so I hear, and then also I move a lot, so I get the information through movement. And what I'm really hearing is this is really about stabilization so that you can expand.
beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Yes, it's interesting because the moment that I ground in and connect in, it's like that is my tell, is just
Yes.
feeling the movement in my root.
So powerful.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, shall we go with the interview now?
Let's go with the interview. I'm like, I'm just sitting in this, like, hey, everybody, are you with me
Well, the
here?
beautiful thing is we're still sitting in it
Beautiful.
this whole time. And as
Yes,
those of you who are tuning in, you could probably feel the frequency be different and even how the softening and the grounding has happened between Crystal and I. This is really setting sacred space right now. And that's the power
absolutely.
of the records is that you can't make this shit up, right? It's
No,
just like
absolutely. And I'm
so
sitting
close.
here like I'm just being guided by you. I'm like, what's next? But I will guide you through my interview questions and just feeling in this beautiful energy. So thank you
Love it.
for creating that for us today. And I'm really curious. Let's dive into a little bit of your entrepreneurship journey. Now that I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just in this Zen state. It's
Let's
very
just be like
beautiful. I
floaty
love it.
in the
Yes.
grounded way.
This whole interview we're going to be just dancing together. But if you could share with myself and our audience today, what really inspired you to become an entrepreneur? You can kind of
Mm.
think back to that shift.
Yes, well, actually, I can remember the exact day I actually got into it. Um, this would have been after grad school. I graduated with my master's in marriage and family therapy, and I applied to be a provisional psychologist, which means you are in the process of becoming a registered psychologist. It's a very grueling process. Like there's lots of studying, there's lots of hours. Half of those hours have to be under supervision by a psychologist who has at least 5 years of registered experience, and you have to defend yourself in front of a panel of psychologists. You have to write a national exam. So all this at least is a year-long process. So it's not easy to be a psychologist. Um, and it's not easy to pass the exam either. So anyway, coming back to the year is 2008. And I had about 2007, 2008, and I just, at this point, I had worked in a jail setting as a therapist. Yes, it's
Wow.
very interesting. I've worked in non-for-profits, family centers, agencies, and I was being interviewed by what I thought was another agency. And when they said, okay, you got the position, I was like, awesome. I learned it was actually private practice. So I was just kind of thrown in there. And I
Interesting.
had the dream of one day starting my own private practice, but I didn't think it was going to be so soon. And so I'm like, all right, here we go. I guess my dream's happening quicker than I thought. And so let me me tell you, psychologists do not learn about business. So I really had to learn, by making tons of mistakes and
Mm.
experiences, taking courses that were not business courses, but just like understanding, even working with my supervisors, understanding that. But again, psychologists, we don't learn about the business side of things unless you purposely take courses outside. And so it was a lot of learning mistakes and, trying to figure things out. That's how I got into entrepreneurship. and
That's
and
incredible.
over time I became better, and I would say like boundaries, that's a huge thing. So really recognizing, business boundaries, uh, ethical boundaries, understanding all of these ways and how to really show up in as a therapist at this point in time. Be integrity of like how I work ethically with my clients, but also be integrity to how I market myself as a psychologist. And I mean, marketing, nobody like knows, we didn't go to school to become marketers. We went to school to help people, right? Like process and transform. So it's like, oh my God, what is this world? Now, in this process, what happened, as I mentioned earlier, was my own personal, actually, I'll go back. My own personal struggles was in food and body image.
Okay.
And so I got into bodybuilding for all the wrong reasons in
Mhm.
2008. It was June. I competed in a figure bodybuilding competition. And on the outside, my life looked completely perfect. I had just started private practice. I was a newlywed, still very happily married, almost 17 years to the same man. And I was a second degree black belt in karate and a role model to kids, teens, and adults. And so on the outside, I was like, it was picture perfect, and I was very confident. And I use these words because I was very good at what I did, and I was really like, I believed in myself and what I offered in these aspects. But behind closed doors, it was a different picture. I was struggling with binge eating, and then I would beat myself up and purge by over exercising. I never felt like I was pretty enough, lean enough, muscular enough, essentially good enough. So my self worth was quite low, but I wasn't, I was 25 at the time. So had not actually done a lot of inner growth at this point. I was really good at, being a therapist, but I myself hadn't looked at myself. I came in last place that day. It was so devastating. I had a breakdown, and shortly after, I was led as a therapist to learn about this method called Haikomi. And means, how do I stand in relationship with myself, and how do I stand in relationship with others? So it's this mindfulness, experiential, somatic method
Mm.
that combines neuroscience, psychology, and at this time, this thing called spirituality. I'm like, what? So of course, when you're learning something, you cannot not work your own shit, right? So for me, I was recognizing, I learned, I was unconsciously operating from this belief that I'm valued in my doingness. So my status, my titles, my achievements, my awards, whatever, right? Rather than my beingness. And my doingness was never enough, Crystal. So no wonder I was like an overachiever, a perfectionist, and this hardcore type A personality. I was like, no pain, no gain. So that's when I started to learn how to come home to myself and start that journey, which I believe, as you know, you probably agree, it never ends, right? This journey to home to ourselves. And so I learned
Absolutely.
the art of slowing down, being imperfectly imperfect, and I changed my life so much. I got certified in Haikomi, I got certified in eating psychology, and then I became the go-to psychologist, speaking and selling people into my group therapy programs. I was now so inspired by the transformations my clients, who were former versions of me, so we had disordered eating, not clinical eating disorders, which means we were not diagnosable by to meet a criteria of a eating disorder. But it's most of us women fall in the other cracks because often we do struggle with food. We struggle
Mhm.
with body image. I mean, our societal messages that pass on to us say we need to look a certain way in order to feel good
Mhm.
about ourselves, right? I worked with former versions of myself, these women who also struggled in the same way. And now I came from this place of like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this work so much. It needs to get out there more. I want to help more people. And that's when I created the online program, and then more doors opened. I got my first international speaking gig. I got on a magazine cover of a women's fitness community, and I did not diet. I was not photoshopped. And on purpose, I wore a sports bra and booty shorts to celebrate the part of my body that I
Mm,
hated the most
that's
most
so
most of my
beautiful.
life, which was my belly. And now, not per like I just had my son like a few months before that, so it's still in post mummy baby body. I was like, but I love myself. I'm the most free I've ever been. And that I also got published because I blogs as well about this journey. When you see like before and after photos, so I did a one where it was not typical. So it was me in the before picture was me bodybuilding, and then after was me after I gave birth to my first son. And so this got published on Huffington Post as well. So if you guys Google my name, Roslyn Fung, and Huff Post, you'll see it. But it was like these were things that were signs and nudges that when there's confirmation from the universe,
Mhm.
like this is there's something bigger here. There's something bigger here. And so that's when I started going, huh, and realizing my license was not fully allowing myself to express all of who I am, because as women were approaching me after seeing my magazine cover, and I also wrote a 4-page article on how to flex their self-love muscle, and I couldn't work with them because they're not, I'm licensed in a certain province,
I
they're in the
see.
States, and I'm like, I can't work with you. And that feeling was so crushing to know I
Mm.
can, but this license was holding me back. And so that was really frustrating. And fast forward, hired my first business coach. Biggest, scariest investment ever at that point in time. And where I actually was in a personal development course, a group coaching course, and I wanted to work on my money mindset. And we had to choose our buddies in a blindfolded way.
I love
Oh my
it.
God. And so I was like, okay. And I opened my eyes to see who I'd chosen, because you choose by like holding hands with people and energetically feeling if this is your person. My person was a 7-figure award winning business coach. You can't make this shit up, right? And so, of course, she was there for her own stuff, and then, of course, when you're working through your own stuff, you become quite close, and because everybody's quite vulnerable in that stage. And so, we became good friends, and I hired her shortly after that. And that's when I started my self love coaching business. And I never meant to retire as a psychologist. I thought, oh, I'll keep going. But I built my business. It started out as a self love coaching business. I built it very quickly because I speak on stages quite a bit, and this is what I coach my clients on too: is how to speak and leave with leads or leave with paying clients. It's so much fun that I built my self love coaching business so quickly to 6 figures, and it was like, holy shit! Like, I can't keep going this way because I feel more like myself as a self love coach. And I can work with
Mm.
anyone, anywhere. I'm like, this is freaking amazing. So it was still not easy though to resign, because I still had to move through a lot of limiting beliefs. One, I didn't realize how much I hid behind the title of a psychologist. I identified myself so much as a psychologist that I still had to work through some big time ego stuff around that, because I was
Absolutely.
demoting myself into a coach. Two, what if I fail? Right? This is so I hadn't made the 6 figures yet. This was early on in my coaching business. I'm like, what if I fail? I'm a sole provider. Like, my husband and I are the providers of we have a young family now, 2 boys. Like, is this, I'm being irresponsible? Parents,
Mm.
like, how are my Asian parents going to be okay with this? I had to risk disapproval, because in my culture, you have to be like this high level status, right? And so I'm like, okay, if I'm giving up on my title,
The perception of others too, and that
exactly.
pressure. Yeah.
Clearly, I've moved through that, and I continue to do the work. I continue to study a lot for myself. I wish I could get paid to be a student of life. Like, I freaking love learning so much. So that's when I got um, uh, certified in more energy modalities, opening up Akashics in 2020, and shamanic practitioner as well. So it's been so beautiful bringing the
So
alchemy of me
exciting.
into my
Well,
life.
And like you say, you're bringing all these different avenues, all your lessons, all your experiences, all your gifts. And it's
Yes.
this custom, beautiful expression of you that's able to
Yes.
help people in so many ways. And I'm over here just smiling because ultimately have these questions here, right? And my next question was, let's talk about the evolution of your business, and then we go through this, and then I'm like, well, you're telling me all of the things that I have for you, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into, if I
Yeah.
may, your personal values and beliefs, and how these have really helped you guide your business decisions. Because I know sometimes
Absolutely
it's like,
love
yeah,
that
we talk
question.
about those, but in order for it to connect with our personal values
Yes.
and beliefs, I'm curious about yours.
I love that. Thank you. And that's a really great question because I think that as we evolve, those can change.
Yes.
So I'm guided by, first of all, my why is my pain turned to purpose, which is, remember, I thought my value was my doingness rather my beingness. And so my doingness never felt enough. That was my pain. Now, today, my purpose is be, do, and have. So I love to help others be fully expressed in who they authentically are, boldly and unapologetically, and do and create life and business in who they authentically are so that they can have what they desire.
Love
And
that.
so I'm guided by when it comes to my beingness. So often when I'm working with my clients, I'm going, this, like energetically, does that feel like that brings you joy? Does this feel like who you really are? Because we can tell deep down inside, we can really tell. In fact, I just recently had an Akashic soul session with somebody who's thinking about leaving their psychologist license. Surprise, surprise, right? And she's like,
You attracted this client. I wonder why.
yes, I do work with like psychologists who are curious about leaving that world and just like wondering. Um, but they, it's like they were trying to convince themselves, like, oh,
Mm.
but if I stay and with the license, then like there's a safety there, and security there, right? Versus over here in a coaching, like you are completely on your own. There's no benefits, there's no coverage, there's right. But that's just all an illusion. But I could feel her energy be way more light and excited because I feel what my clients feel in the records, right? So I'm just like, okay. And there was confirmation for this person because deep down inside, we really sat with it. We know we're radically lying to ourselves, right? So there's like, what is the thing that brings my beingness joy? Because to me, success isn't about how much money you make. Money is just a byproduct. But if you're vibrating in this frequency of joy, people are attracted to that. You magnetize opportunities, you magnetize people. Crystal, this is why we're friends.
Totally. We're both like,
Right? We magnetize each other and you magnetize your clients. And so when we're vibrating and stuff, people feel that. You can't, energy doesn't lie, right? And so it's about our beingness first, what feels good for me. And a lot of times people get stuck in their ego. And
mm,
that's, again, going back to that example of the psychologist, like being like, okay, but this is safety. That's his ego. That doesn't actually, her body feels totally different from that. Like head is over here, body's over here, and heart's over here, soul is over here, right? And so to me, another value is alignment. Like, does it feel aligned for you, aligned, authentic for you, and the vision you want for yourself? Now, I can have a shiny object syndrome. I'm like freaking multi-passionate. I'm a Manny Jed. And so I have to use my own discernment. So when it comes to
mhm.
decision making in my business, I love this question, Crystal, because it's like, is this a no completely or a no, not right now? And I can see this is actually a line for me, but right now I've got these other things going on. There's the timing isn't aligned. So alignment is really
Absolutely.
important, right? Um, Integrity is really, really like it's my foundation. Integrity. Are you, are you really, and all these words sort of overlap anyway, right? Alignment, authenticity, but integrity And I think maybe it's also because of my training in ethics as a psychologist. Like, are we being integrity to how we're showing up, what we're saying, and then following up on it, right? And the integrity of, like, sometimes we can't play quite place our finger on something, but if something feels off, you got to listen to that. So if there's like an opportunity coming your way, um, okay, so I have a lot of people approaching me to collaborate with them, which is such an honor. And in my one of my greatest lessons in the past was that I couldn't quite put a finger on somebody and why I didn't quite, like, something about them didn't quite feel, something felt off. Maybe that's another way to put it, right? We all can
Mm.
think of somebody where, like, they seem to present well, they seem to be, but something doesn't quite match up. Something feels off, but you can't put your finger on it. So when we ignore that, we find out later why.
That internal intuitive nudge turns into a bit of a slap.
I'll put it that way, right? And so when I didn't listen and I decided to collaborate with this person, now there were so many wonderful things that happened, just in terms of impacts, in terms of activations. And at some point, the person's ego unfortunately got in the way. I didn't see it in the beginning, but I felt it, right? I couldn't put a finger on it. And I have no regrets. Like, I still feel happy that this, again, beautiful lessons, right? This unfolded, and I'm grateful they gave value to me and to my life and to my business. I still see that, even though it didn't end well, but it ended with this person's ego. And then we can talk about the sister wounds. This is why
Mhm.
I'm so freaking passionate about us doing our own inner work, because when we don't, we can project onto other people, and that's unfortunately
Yes.
what happened. Is she couldn't see she was projecting onto me. She couldn't be in the same power, like, she felt threatened by me and cut me down. And so that's traumatizing when you become so close with somebody.
Mm.
And when I was so close, I had to go to SOS sessions with my coach. I was like, okay, I need some perspective here. And I would say that's another value, a huge value, is do your inner work. Like, it never stops.
Absolutely.
Um, we're human. We have shit. We have
Mhm.
trauma. And if we don't clean that up, it will show up, and we can project onto our clients, we can project onto our friends, and just, no thanks, right? And
Totally.
we're human, we make mistakes, that can happen, but own it. So yeah, accountability is another huge value I have. Accountability is everything. So victim versus accountability or responsibility. Victim is when life happens, when we see life is happening to us and we blame ourselves or other people. Accountability or radical responsibility is when we see life is happening for us and through us, even if things are not turning out the way we like. We need to look at ourselves and go, what about myself in this situation, whether it's like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is contributing to this situation, because I am in it. I've somehow have the energy of this here now. And I'm happy to share an experience about this. Yeah,
Yeah,
here's another story.
absolutely. No, I love your storytelling because I just like when I listen to you and when we go on our little walks and stuff, I'm like, "Where's the popcorn? Tell me more." Yes, please. It's
I'm
captivating.
laughing because we go deep in our we
Yeah,
go
we
deep in
do.
our
I'm
walks.
with you all the way. Yes, please share.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, okay, here's one of my greatest lessons. One time, and I actually wrote a chapter in a book about this, a Blue Talks book, which is Business Life Universe. It's kind of like TEDx meets Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Love
It's a
that.
speaking stage, and then they have authors, co-authored books with it, and they've all gone to bestsellers. So it's amazing. Anybody that wants to be a speaker on a TEDx spiritual stage, let me know, because I'm so happy to hook you up. But I remember I was chatting with a girlfriend who is also a coach, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, I just had this really negative experience with a client, and I knew she had not done a lot of inner work."
Mhm.
And what happened was she was projecting onto me as if I was her mother. And I was like, oh, okay, we're
Oof.
going to have to like navigate through this one. So essentially, we'll see that as victim energy, right? And so my girlfriend and I, because I take radical responsibility, we were like, okay, let's jam about this. Where in my life am I showing up as a victim? Because law of mirrors, right? There's still some part of me that is attracting victim energy because I'm showing up in victim in some way. And so we were trying to explore and we couldn't quite find it. And then we dropped it. We talked about something else. And then she asked me if I knew a certain person. And I started to bawl. And this was like the third time this person's name has come up in my life over the last few months. And her and I were each other's clients. We became really good friends. She's like a powerful woman entrepreneur. And I was like, yes, I do not know what happened. She like just gave me the brush off. And I'm really sad about that. And so she was like, well, have you had a conversation with her? Have you asked for one? And then I'm like, no. I was so in it. I just assumed, like, because wish I had been texting this person about joining their mastermind, about like getting together, about, and just complete, you know, when you, like, when you're doing that on Messenger and people just heart things or they just completely ignore you, but you know if they've seen the message, that's the brush off to me. And so I was like, I have not. And that was like this moment where my whole body went and released and is like,
Mm.
there it is, a victim. Because I have power to go and ask her for a conversation.
Yes.
and so and so it didn't matter whether her answer was yes or no. It was in that moment I was free of it. And then taking action is what is
Totally.
key, right? Taking
Yeah.
action. And so I approached her by message and said, hey, I've been doing a lot of healing work and your name keeps coming up. I was hoping that we could have a conversation to share what's been on my heart. And this person came back and said, yes, absolutely. We set a date, but she didn't come back to confirm it. So to this day, and this was years ago, it has not happened. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But I freed myself because since then, this is how powerful spirit is. I got clarity about who my dream clients are, who my dream clients aren't. I was
Absolutely.
concerned about a few of the clients that I was working with not being my dream clients. And I'm not kidding you. As soon as I asked for that conversation, this is what happened, Crystal. Like this is just how magical and quantum leap things happen when you just are in alignment and take radical responsibility. Those clients I was a little bit concerned about came back and said, "Hey," and not contact them. This is so interesting. So I had one client where I fired because I did not feel like I could be in service to her anymore. She had gone off to do another business without consulting with me, and that's not my forte. And I just thought, you know what? I don't feel good about you paying me and us continue work together when you're now moving this direction. So we ended that contract. And then three of those clients I was like wondering about came back, and they are clients that would still be aligned, but I was feeling like, and I was not doing life and spiritual coaching at this point in time. I was doing more business coaching and then helping people with the energetics and strategies predominantly in their business. So not strictly just mental health stuff. And so they were all struggling with mental health stuff. That's why I wasn't sure. And they just said, "Hey, Roz, can we continue paying you in our contract, but just put our sessions on hold?" I'm like, yeah. Wow. So they wanted to go take care of it before they came back. I didn't do anything. I didn't contact those people at all. It was so incredible. And I, at this point, had been burning out because I had, now this is the goodness honest truth, is I was running 3 group programs and had lots of one-on-ones. And I just was like burning out.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my goodness. And so when I ask for more time, you know, as we take accountability, as we see where we're being a victim, as we're seeing where we're not organized within ourselves, and it's reflecting out here, spirit moves the doors for you. It was
Yes.
so incredible.
Well, and getting clarity on what you want. It's like, how
Thousand
often do
percent.
we manifest things that we don't want because of the way that we're thinking?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And so what I'm
Yes.
taking too is just really getting clear on what you are really embodying and what you're thinking. So if we're in that victim state, what
Yeah.
are we magnetizing to ourselves versus being in taking radical responsibility
Yes.
and for our own actions, seeing those lessons? Because when we magnetize those types of things, we have the
Yes.
opportunity to clear them as well
That's right.
and then be able to continue to move it. I talk with my hands too, so
I love it.
we could do some dance
Love
moves
to.
while we're going. Well, I really appreciate you answering those questions because for me, values and belief systems really kind of tie into who we are and how we are being
Yes.
and ultimately how our business operates. So
Yes.
when we look at that saying what is showing up for me on the outside, okay, what is actually happening for me on the inside? I love that when you're talking about
Yes.
the being versus doing. I have a few more quick questions,
Can
and then
I?
I know you've put together a little talk for us today as well.
Well,
Yes.
actually, I didn't. We can talk about that too.
Okay, perfect.
But let's be real, Crystal.
Well, you know.
But we're channeling. Um, one very very important value that I also have, and it just bleeds into my like you said, like our beingness and our business. We are not our business, but
Yes.
absolutely, especially as solopreneurs, like our values are going to travel into our business. So for me, it's relationships. I
Lovely.
value relationships so much. And you know that because like we are connected in real life as friends and we met online, which is so great. And I
Totally.
just freaking love people. I love people so much. And I love actually getting to know people.
Mm.
And I believe that because think about it, relationships make the world go round. If we had the apocalypse happen to us and you're the only person left on earth, what's the point? Like, some people might like that for maybe a week. I don't know, but I think what's the point? You don't got people. When we go into a restaurant, even when we don't talk to anybody, there's livelihood around. There's energy around.
There is,
And then,
yes.
people and versus going into an empty restaurant or like it just makes a difference. And then actually connecting in intimately with people is such a treasure to me. Like it brings me so much joy to really
Deepened
know each other.
conversations.
Like Crystal, we've had like two beautiful hiking dates, and they went from whoop, they went deep like right away. We're like, girl, you're
Like,
no
well,
about
you
me that
now
like
know my
only my
entire
best friend
life.
still.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
But when you really magnetize, because you're in a certain frequency. When we
Yes.
magnetize, because we're in that energy, like attracts like, so it's so beautiful, and we get each other. So it also hurts my heart a lot when relationships, because as we ascend, those of you that are on, when we ascend, we shift, we evolve. Unfortunately, relationships can fall away, and it's hard. It's
It
really
is.
hard. It still hurts my heart when it happens, even though I know it's happening for the highest good and truth, but we're just not in the same frequency anymore. Not better, just different. Right? Like they're in their vortex over here, I'm going over here. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes we vortex back to each other. Great. Sometimes we don't. It's okay. But
Absolutely.
I would say like that's probably my biggest struggle. If there's a question around that, that would be the struggle.
Well, what unique challenges have you encountered as an entrepreneur? Let's fall in that category.
Oh my God, I think I
Uh,
just shared that with some of those.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like when you have these beautiful visions with people and you want to co-create with people, um, or you misunderstood, right?
Hmm.
I'll speak for myself. When I'm misunderstood, and I'm like, that's not what I meant at all, huh? Right? But again, because we all have our own experiences, our own histories, we perceive it through our own lens. And so, again, going back to my values of this is why it's really important to do inner work. And it's also really important to learn how to communicate effectively, which I'm not perfect, that's for sure, but let's own it, right?
Totally.
So I would say miscommunication definitely has been challenges. Um, misalignment, um, shiny object syndrome. My goodness,
Shiny object syndrome.
taking on too much.
Yeah.
taking on too
Yes.
much has been a thing. And now I've used discernment. Like I can say I'm very proud of myself. I will be like, oh, before I answer yes or say yes, let me just, even if it's a yes, my whole body's like ringing, I'm going to just make sure I have the spaciousness for it. Otherwise, and I think that a lot of us passionate people have this challenge, I will say, where we might want to put out one event here and another program, another program, another program, but they're all like squished here. So you're constantly launching and you're launching all these different things. That can be so exhausting. And then we burn out, right? So
Totally. Yeah, I
I
agree.
think I think like in the past I've had those challenges and it's just like now I just want to hide. Like I don't even want to do anything because I've tried to do all things at once and because I'm too excited. So now I have figured out, I've cracked the code. Number one is user discernment and like divine timing, but also like feel into like making sure this isn't a trauma pattern of
Mhm.
trying to fill up the space, being a high achieving woman who has type A personality and has a workaholic dad. And like I've had to break all the workaholism patterns big time. And I'm
Thank you.
happy to say they're not very present, but I still have to be aware because it's like that was my old core wound. And so am I doing this? Am I saying yes to this because I feel like I need to, I feel like now I have space and I can, but do I really have space or am I having like three other things that's going on, right? Do I actually have spaciousness in my life just like for me, just me, not my business, not my family, just me, right? Like I think it's really important to have this balance doesn't really exist to me, but flow in our life. Um, and I feel like it's ever evolving as we're ever evolving. And the demands, right? Being a mom now, too, as you've heard me talk about my 11-year-old going on to 16, who's so mischievous.
The
I'm like, oh
party's
my
just
God.
getting started.
Right? So it's like, okay, allotting more time to be a parent, sitting down with him and his
Absolutely.
friends and talk about all these things integrity, respect, like all of it. I feel like one day my son's gonna look back and be like, thank God, mom, I'm so sorry I was such a brat to you.
Oh,
My kids are good. My
beautiful.
kids are good. But it's like um really going with the evolving and what's coming, but making sure for me it's that spaciousness. Cause I would say, yeah, my core wounds is workaholic and keep going.
Yes.
So
And it's almost like when we get to that point, speaking from my experience, when creating that spaciousness, it's almost like there's this anticipation that there's just something next. And
yeah.
so, what I've observed in myself, because everything you're saying, I'm like relating to it over here and moving through that energy
Yes.
is what is the relationship to that
Yes.
spaciousness?
Yes.
Right. And shifting my own personal perception from my experience to not needing to be in that doingness, but coming to that place of beingness. And part of my business now is sitting and doing nothing
Being.
and being, right? But that's part of
Love
it,
it.
is to get into that flow. So thank you for sharing, your challenges, your strengths, your beliefs, your beautiful story around your entrepreneurship journey. And when we look at that from a perspective, from a new lens, and just seeing how you've really taken like your lessons, your learnings, the pains, bringing it into your purpose and creating this beautiful, what I like to reference in my coaching business is lifestyle business. Really, you are moving
Mhm.
with the energy that excites you. You are coming from a place of who am I being, and those gifts are shining through, and your
Yes.
experience, it has this potency to it. So no matter where we are, our conversations, we go into this depth because naturally that's where we want to go. We get to these lessons, that rawness. Sometimes the
Yes.
stories are like, what? Like, we gotta write a book about this. It's crazy.
Right?
But it's beautiful to exchange energy with you. And I want to share my gratitude in connecting with
Mm.
you online and having conversation in the community, because I truly feel that by the connection, by that relationship. And I
Yeah,
know that, we're local in the Okanagan and you're going to be moving away, but that's, doesn't matter. We can still have this connection. We can still,
exactly.
you know, plan little rendezvous and have some hikes and who knows where. But the connection, the relationship, the exchange of energy that I've experienced with you in just a short time has been incredible. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you,
And,
love.
before we kind of wrap up, I know you've put together a little freebie that we're going to post below. All of our
Yes,
listeners can find everything
yes,
um, from you today. And I think we're going to pull a couple cards too.
yes,
But what's this freebie client attractor checklist
yes.
that our listeners can download?
Yeah, absolutely. So, because I work with entrepreneurs who are 2 years plus in their business, and some I do have programs also from 0 to 2 years, so different levels. But this checklist really is great for you to. It's literally a checklist, like looking at where, like, are you doing these 11 key marketing and branding things to help you get your brand identity out there, really create your and speaking to your niche, and then having systems. There's also a masterclass tags in there called how to unapologetically and boldly market your coaching business and attract your full body yes clients.
Woo-hoo.
And in that masterclass, I actually go over my bold method as well, so you'll learn what the acronyms are. I will keep you in suspense. But it really does talk about your brand identity, and then being able to express yourself fully. Because as you're all tuning in here, you can feel like literally, Crystal, this is who I am, right? Like when you meet me, this is who
Absolutely.
shows up,
What you
right?
see is what you get.
Like there's no difference. And I love that. I think that's the biggest compliment when people are like, you are just like how you are online. And I'm sure we've all met those people who they're actually not. And this is why I'm like, no, we just need to be ourselves, because when we
Yes.
really fully show up, there's no competition. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And so it's our own shit that gets in the way. Fear of other people judging us, fear of other people rejecting us, whatever that might be, or we are not saying the right things, all that's not right. So, that when we get that ego stuff out of the way and we really step into our power and just share, we really start to magnetize. So, I'll go deeper into that in this checklist as well as the masterclass. And then because I do business coaching as well, it's looking at not just throwing things, spaghetti at the wall, but having actual structures and systems and a business model that aligns with your lifestyle, right? We got to
Yes.
be able to have a business that works for us, not be in a box. You guys, that's why I'm not a psychologist anymore, because I don't want to be in a box,
Get out of the
right?
box.
Ah, and so this is really like being a trailblazer is in my blood, and it's so much part of. And I feel like my clients are all multi-dimensional, like myself. We're multi-passionate, we have different offers, and it's being able to go, okay, let's really roll with this and honor our flow, honor that. So having a business systems and strategies to support that is really important. And then showing up, I mean, really, knowledge is not power, but it's applying that knowledge that makes it power for us. We can know all these
Absolutely.
things, but if you're staying and stuck in research mode and just observation mode, and we're not actually putting our dreams out there and taking aligned action, what's the point? In shamanism, there is a we have our dreamer selves, a part of us that dreams so big, and then there we have our, it's not a very sexy term, but our stalker self. So the part of us that stalks our dreams and physicalizes them and
Mhm.
manifests into reality.
Like gripping,
Yeah,
essentially. Mhm.
yeah,
Makes sense.
exactly. Yeah,
Beautiful explanation. Thank you. Thank you. I
thank
can't wait to
you.
download it myself. So I will
Woohoo!
make sure I get on that. Thank you for sharing that with our community.
Thank
And
you.
any, last minute thoughts, or if you could kind of sum up some aspiring
Yeah, why don't we go pull some cards? How about
yeah,
that?
let's do that. Yeah, I was gonna say either we pull some cards or you give me a little quote from Rosalyn Fung that I
Yeah.
can
So
quote out.
I am pulling from my favorite deck, which is, let us
Ooh,
know if you know have this one too, the Light Seers Tarot deck. I love this, and the art's so yummy,
I
so
love
yummy.
it. I
So
love
I'm
it.
gonna just pull from this card to deck to just see what the beautiful collective here needs to hear, and then I'll light language to close this.
Yes.
before we close the records. Okay, usually I like to pull 3 cards. Ooh, oh, okay. Woo, I'm getting goosebumps already pulling these. Beautiful. Okay. So sometimes I like to refer to a book, but I'm actually gonna I'm gonna do both, but this one is the Six of Pentacles. Pentacles is all about wealth and health. And this came upside down. So when I look at it upside down, you can see that this is about receiving, right? Somebody's giving, somebody's receiving. So let me just tune in. So and I'm going to say this is a common theme I see amongst life and spiritual coaches and healers, is that we struggle with receiving, right? Like the bank account, feast and famine. Likely because struggling with receiving. And I'm going to tell you, I do money mindset work every day, right? It's really about allowing yourself to know you're deserving, knowing you're worthy, and those money thoughts, right? So this one's about like even like money comes, like I'm just tuning in, and for this reading here for the collective, it's about money in your business. I mean, really, if you're not making money, it's just a hobby. It's not a business. So this is about stepping into your power, because we all have this as a birthright. Our ability to receive, our ability to build our wealth, it's our birthright. And so allowing yourself to receive and knowing that it's safe, going back to that root chakra, it's safe for you to receive. It's safe for you to make money. The more money you have, the more good you can do with it. So just breathing that in. Just going to light language us. Horakia senerkia kura senerkia senerkia sura senerkura senerkia asura senerkia asura kurasia. And so it's just being very aware of your feelings, of the sensations that are coming through right now, clearing any money blocks. Feel free to connect with me if you want an actual Akashic session. I hold wealth codes. My light language does that. We can clear money blocks, glass ceilings, all this. So much fun. Okay, number 5 is the Hierophant. So what I'm really seeing, this was right side up, is look how joyful and happy he is, and look at the stairs to ascension, right? And so there's a lot of magic when you step into your power and you allow yourself to really move up your own ladder, like moving up, ascending spiritually, allowing yourself to fully receive. And okay, there's that word, right? That just came through. So allowing yourself to really receive your gifts, receive your magic, and then put that out there. Don't be afraid to put it out there. What I'm reading here is the affirmation, I am my own guru, and the guidance I need is rooted in my faith, my belief, and my unique essence. This is about really owning your gifts. Okay. 3 of Wands. So there's a lot of fire energy here. I love it. It's like ignition. You can see she's looking out, so she's visioning. She's ready. She's got her surfboard. She's ready to go surf. All right, my love. So this is about you going to surf, you have clarity. So as you have clarity, if you don't, then hey, I'd love to support you in having that clarity of your vision, right? In the Akashics, and really being able to go, okay, I see it, as you heard me earlier say, just standing here, knowledge isn't power, having clarity isn't power. It's now, I mean, it is, but like now we have to take aligned action. That's the power. So it's like ready and go forth. And this is such an ignition card. I love it because I actually call myself a catalyst as well. So this is a very catalytic card. So magical.
Beautiful cards. Beautiful
Yes.
message too. And I'm really resonating because I definitely have had some similar messages coming my way over the last 6 weeks on the receiving. It's like, you have 2 hands and not always giving. It's the act of also receiving.
Exactly. And I want to just read this card here. I am expectant and optimistic, and I know that my dream is on the way. Great. Go for it. This is your permission card to take action.
Oh, so juicy.
Oh, I love it. Well, why don't we activate this with a light language before we close here today? So I'm going to invite you all to tune into what stood out the most for you in this beautiful conversation between Crystal and I. Just what's landed for you, what maybe has triggered you, but it's really standing out to you for whatever reason. And then letting yourself just really focus on this and breathe it in. And then just really be beautifully exhaling. Sarakura sinerakira, kura sineraki smarke asinerkia. Morasia no kura sineraki asu kura sinerkia kura sia. Clearing anything in the way of your obstacles. Morasia, clearing any way of your obstacles, excuse me. Morasia neraki of your dreams, clearing anything that's blocking you. Morasia nerakia kura sinerkia. Activating, amplifying morasia nerakura sinerki asinerakura, the highest good and truth for each of you. Morasia nerakia. Morasur